happy you're here. If you're not taking courses in political science, and unfortunately many people don't take courses in political science, I don't understand why, but they don't.
Sociology, Sean.
They should take sociology. We're here to do a very generic presentation about what it's like to sit in a classroom at Douglas College, and really we're going to hit two themes: communication and time management, because we want you to be successful. So the whole point of today is to give you some hints for starting off really successfully. We do have a handout. Unfortunately, there are more people here than we planned for, so there's extra copies being made. If you don't have a copy, don't worry. They're on their way, and they will be handed out to you.
And the handout itself, again, is just meant to give you an idea of what a college course syllabus or outline would look like. So how many of you have taken university or college courses before? Okay, so there's a few of you here. So a lot of this stuff you'll probably already know because you've been through the drill before. But for those of you who haven't been through this experience before, we're using the outline as an example of sort of to walk you through things like course policies and to get you more organized. Because that's the piece of paper that you will get on the first day from all of your instructors. And on the first day of class, the instructor will talk through everything that's in the outline, and it will go probably in one ear and out the other because you're going to have, 5 of these sorts of conversations. The reason the piece of paper is important and shouldn't just be sort of tucked in the back of your binder is because it contains in it most of the stuff you need to know about that class for the semester. Most particularly, it contains the dates that things are due. So as soon as you get it, the first thing I would tell you to do, when you get it, get out your BlackBerry, your iPhone, or your day planner, however you like to do it, and write all those dates in. Because if you do that, you won't forget to do things. Lots of times students forget, right? They show up in class, everybody's handed in a paper, and you're empty-handed because you didn't write it down. And time management, because there's a rhythm to the semester, which means September's nice and calm,
You can kick
hardly
back
any
and relax.
assignments, second week of October, 5 midterms. Holy smokes. How did this happen? We don't do that to be nasty, as Sean says. We don't all get together in a little group and think, how can we make the students upset?
How can we ruin your lives?
Because remember, we have to mark all those papers as well and all those exams. It's the rhythm of the post-secondary semester. So you will have times where it's kind of quiet, and you will have times where it's crazy busy. So if you start the semester off by writing it all down, you can start planning so that you aren't staying up all night trying to get your 5 papers done, because you've got some sense of when you're going to need to do them.
What's really nice is if you start your papers, if you're doing a paper for a course, the first week of the semester, the second week of the semester, when everybody else is going crazy, you get to sit back there in class and say, I finished it week 5. I'm good.
And you're not wrestling people for the books in the library. That's the other thing. Everybody's doing their paper at the same time. You can't get the book because it's out.
Yes.
And it's got a reserve list for about 14 people before you. Not so good. Now, what about if you have other questions? How do you communicate with the instructor?
On the course outline, every instructor is going to tell you, and it's going to be on their course outline, how to get in touch with them. Most instructors will prefer either email or telephone calls unless you talk to them in class, and ask your instructor, what's the best way to get a hold of you? For me, because I teach on 2 campuses, the best way to get a hold of me is through email. I can access email very easily wherever I am. But some of my colleagues are a little bit of technophobes, old fogies.
Careful, Sean. It's being filmed.
I know. From a generation that wasn't born technologically hooked up. So they may say to you, I don't do email, call me. We also have office hours, and one of the most underutilized things are office hours. All of us sit in our office waiting for you to show up. and ask us questions. If you can't come to my office hours, I'm always saying to students, I'll make arrangements to meet you at any other time that we can work out. So use the office hours, use the email system, or use the phone and communicate with your instructors. The thing about college is, to use Marnie's phrase, we're not cops, we're not your mothers, and we're not your high school teachers. The good news is you're adult learners. So you are responsible for your own learning, and we're not on your backs all the time, nagging you about, you've got a paper due in 48 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
We expect that we give you deadlines, and then you manage your time. Mm-hmm. And we're not constantly checking to make sure you understand something. If you're having trouble with an idea or a concept, and some students don't want to raise their hand in class and say, you know what, I didn't really get what you talked about. Happens in my class because I talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and people are like, didn't they make a movie about that? I'm not really sure. Yeah. And it's really bad because I'll say, you'll remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, and everybody will be thinking, really? What Cuban Missile Crisis? If you don't want to ask me in class, come to my office hours and talk to me and remind me that you weren't born until 1993. Okay?
Okay, but you know what? If somebody sends you an email because they want to set up an appointment with you, do you speak text?
No, I do not speak text. My daughter sent me a text message that said G2G BRB. And I texted her back, what? I had not a clue what she said. She looked at me like I was stunned when I saw her personally. I don't speak text. So it's really important with your emails that you have a subject line that tells me you're a student and you're in one of my classes, because
which class is
helpful. Which class. I get a lot of text messages, and ones that come from Hotmail addresses like sexylady.something. I look at them and I think I am way too old, and they think I'm a guy, so I don't open it. Sometimes those Hotmail messages actually come through the college email system and go straight into spam because they think it's spam.
So you should double check that if you're sending emails, that they're being received. So if you send me an email and I don't respond to you, the next time you're in class, say, did you get my email? Oh gosh, I didn't. Then we can figure out whether or not your email address is landing up in the trash can, the email trash can. You will have a Douglas College email, and so if you've got a personal email that's, sexybeast125@hotmail.com, that's not coming through, then you could probably use your Douglas email to get in touch with me, and it wouldn't get lost.
What else is we need to say about emails?
Well, and phone calls.
Phone calls.
I've had phone calls and emails that are incredibly vague. Hi, I'm a student in your class. I have a question about the assignment. Bye. Great. When do you want to see me? What is your question? You get the same thing in an email. Hi, I'm a student in your class, and I have a question about the research paper. Thanks. And no signature, no name, no, I don't know what class you're in, because you only have me for one class, but I have 4 classes. And so I won't exactly know which class you're in. So it's just give me enough information. And if you need to come in, if you're emailing me because you want to make an appointment, make a suggestion. I have time on Tuesday afternoons. Are you free? If you can't make the office hours. So just be specific and tell me who you are, whether you're leaving a telephone message or doing it on the email, because then we can actually accomplish something.
And communicate works really importantly if things go sideways in your lives. Because now you're adults, you're managing your own time. Sometimes you're going to miss class. Life happens. I had a student once who showed up with her daughter who had chicken pox because she didn't want to miss class, and I'm like, please go home because I don't want a child with chicken pox in my classroom. Highly contagious disease. Sometimes life goes sideways and you're dealing with stuff, and it can be really tough stuff. Communicate with us, and we'll work with you to make it work in terms of the course requirements and assignments and all that. But don't disappear on us and show up at the final exam and say, okay, I haven't seen you for 2 months, but I really need to know what I can do to pass this class. That's too late. The communication needs to start right at the beginning when problems arise in order for us to be successful in managing them.
Yeah, and you'll find that most of the instructors here are here very specifically because they want to teach in a college. Like, we're really happy to be here. I'm really excited to work here. You know why? Because I get 35 people in a classroom, not 300. Because I can actually get to know you. Because I'll know your name by the end of the semester. Because we can communicate. Because we have the opportunity. We can get to know one another. And I have much more opportunity to be supportive of your learning experience. You know, if you're having trouble with an assignment, you know me well enough to stop me in the hallway and say, hey, Marty, can I see you later this afternoon? I really don't get this assignment. Can you give me a hand? Right? We can have a relationship like that because we can communicate. So you're going to find a lot of people who are really here to be teachers who really want to support you in that experience, because we want to launch you so that you can go off to university from here, if that's your intention, and that you'll be really well prepared.
And then we get to brag about you. And we have coffee, we say, well, I have a student, maybe we have wine. But I say, I have a student who's off in Vietnam working on human trafficking in women, and I get to brag about you. Mm-hmm. So we want you to be successful. You can be successful, but you need to organize your time and you need to communicate.
Yeah, now speaking of communicating, and I don't know, this is the outline that you have is Sean's.
Yes.
I think you have policies in your outline. And some of those policies are about technology, aren't they? Because we were talking about email. So what other kinds of technology policies?
So actually, don't flip through mine, because mine is a draft and my technology policies aren't in there yet.
Sean.
I know, I have to update. This is a draft from last year. I go over technology policies verbally. And I'm assuming 99.9% of all students have cell phones. And the temptation with any cell phone is to be constantly checking to see if you got any new messages. And you may be sitting there with your cell phone in your lap, thinking you're doing it really discreetly, but when you're looking at your lap and smiling, we know there's a reason, okay?
Yes, and we're pretty sure it's the cell phone.
Yes, we're hoping it's the cell phone. You need to be aware that if your cell phone goes off in class, it's disruptive and it's embarrassing. Now, especially with some of the ringtones you guys have, it's really embarrassing.
Yeah, it will cause me to disco dance at the front of the room, which is probably more embarrassing to me, but yeah.
And some of our colleagues take a real hard line on these issues. So I have a colleague whose name will not be revealed. But if your cell phone goes off in his class, because he's that 1% of the population that doesn't have a cell phone, he makes you sing the national anthem. And the first time it's in English. If it goes off a second time in his classroom, you get to sing it in French.
Does he provide the lyric sheet for that?
No, he does not provide the lyric sheet.
Yeah, I'd really be in trouble.
You'd be in trouble.
So some people... Now, I don't make you sing a song because I have been known to forget to turn off my cell phone.
Yes, me too.
And you probably don't want to hear me sing. But we do have colleagues who are very, very strict about things around technology. Their technology isn't their favorite thing. Like, we're pretty technologically savvy, you know, we use cell phones and email and all of that. But we do have... For what?
Okay, I thought we were.
We try.
Yeah.
We do have colleagues who will not want you to use technology at all in the classroom. That will include your cell phone, but it may also include computers. Now, some people like to take notes with computers. I have no problem with that. You need to check with each individual instructor about things like using computers, using other technology. What do they want you to do with your cell phone? Now, using computers is great. If you're playing Grand Theft Auto in the middle of the classroom, and I kid you not, this happened in my class. I had a guy like trying to get all the way through Grand Theft Auto, in fall term in Sociology 1125. I don't think he did very well in the class. I don't recall. Now, one of the reasons we have these kinds of policies is not just because we want to be restrictive of your use of technology, but because this is a respectful environment. It's to be a respectful learning environment. So, on the one hand, like if you want to play Grand Theft Auto and distract yourself and not get a very good mark, okay, it's your money. But if you distract other people, that's when it's not cool, right? So, I mean, I'm being flippant using the Grand Theft Auto example, because that only happened once. But you know what happens a lot? YouTube.
Facebook.
Yeah. And so, if you're doing that, you're distracting people around you. So, two things. One is ask each individual instructor how do they feel about the use of technology, and the second is please use the technology respectfully so you don't distract other people with it.
And if you are in my classroom and I find that you're doing Grand Theft Auto, I've had it too.
Oh, have you?
Yes. Or I think it was actually World of Warcraft or something.
World of Warcraft is more boring though.
I'll come along and I'll just shut the lid of your laptop. And if you do it again, I'm going to say to you, do you really want to be here? Because you know what? This is college. You're paying to be here. And you can't learn as an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, you kind of have to show up.
You do. It's one of those things.
Even though, do you have an attendance policy, Sean?
No, I don't, because you're adults. So I believe you should manage your time, and part of being an adult is juggling life and making priorities. So you don't need to call me and say, I'm not in class. However, I highly recommend the buddy system. So you have a buddy that you check with and find out what you missed, because you all have missed stuff in class. What I don't like, in fact, it makes me really grumpy. I have a former student in here, and he can tell you this, is when students walk up to me and say to me, did I miss anything important? I want to say, yes, I had a revelation. I'm going to get the Nobel Peace Prize. I've solved the problem with the Middle East, and you weren't here to help me tell. That came out wrong.
Yes, and you just broke her eardrums by hitting the microphone.
Sorry, you weren't here to hear my revelation. So take responsibility. If you're going to miss class, make sure you take responsibility to find out what happened in the class you missed.
But again, some instructors will have attendance policies. They may say you must come to a certain percentage of the class or you will not be passed. So again, you really need to look at the outline, ask the instructor if they have policies like that, and be aware whether there's an attendance policy or not. So I don't have an attendance policy because I'm like Sean. We're all grown-ups. You know what? You're not feeling well, you don't come to class. You have to take a shift because that's how you're going to pay your rent. I get that. I get that these things happen. Life happens to us. But that's not a free pass. Like I say that on the first day, and you see all these people going, oh, bonus, man, she's so not taking attendance, and so like I don't have to come. That's great. Party it up. Yeah. And then what happens?
5th week of the semester.
Midterm. Oops. And there is no do-over, is there?
There's no
do-over. So like if you blow the midterm and you go to the teacher and say, is there something I can do to make up for that? No. You're in university.
And I've had students say to me, well, you know that question, I don't think it was really fair because it wasn't in the textbook. And I'll say, oh, I did talk about it in class though. Mm-hmm. Were you there?
Yeah. So showing up is really important for,
it is.
For success. Like, honestly, it's going to help. We do lecture and, use other materials in the class. And that's there to help explain what's in the textbook as well, right? We're not just talking because we like to hear the sound of our own voice, mostly. But, yeah. So it's useful to show up. Now, here's the thing. Check on the attendance policy. Check on what kinds of assignments you have. Because there is a general policy here at Douglas College that you must complete 70% of the work assigned in the class in order to pass the class. If you complete less than 70% of the work in the class, the instructor must give you a grade of UN, which is an unofficial withdrawal, and it's the equivalent to a 0. So, I've had students say, well, I don't want to do the written assignments. They're worth 45% of the grade. The exams are worth 55% of the grade. I know I can ace the exams. I know I can pass the class. I would be forced to give that student a UN because that student had not completed 70% of the work. Now, let me be clear. I am not saying you have to get 70% in the class, because I confused somebody with that the other day. It just means you need to look at what's the work, you have to do 70% of it. That's a college policy, that's not an instructor policy.
And I'm going to add to that. It's a policy has real implications if you're on student loans. Because I've had students in my office begging me to change their grades from a UN to an F because of the student loan implications of a UN. So you may not feel like it's important now, but it may be very important to you in the future.
Now, the other thing about UNs is they show up on your transcript if you decide partway through the term, I cannot stand the sound of Marnie's voice, I hate sociology, I don't want to be in this class, I'm just going to quit coming. And students just quit coming, and you don't automatically get a W for not coming. You get a UN. So it's really important, and this will happen throughout your university career. You're going to probably come across at least one class that you say, wow, this isn't for me. It's too boring, it's just not the topic I'm interested in, whatever it is. That you need to say, I'm going to get out of this class. You need to do the paperwork. Do the paperwork. Because I don't want to give you a UN. And this happens every semester. I have at least 1 or 2 people who just quit coming. And I keep thinking, well, they'll show up as a W on the transcript. No, they show up, they never take themselves out, and I have to give them a UN. So, if you need to get out of a class, make sure you figure out how to do that appropriately. If you don't know how to manage it, the people in the registry office are quite happy to give you advice about how to do that. So,
What have we done? What have we not done?
probably everything. We've talked about,
time management.
yes,
We've talked about all the assignments come at the same point in the time and they
Yes.
drive you nuts.
yes, we've talked about communication.
Communication policies.
Yes. So speaking of communication, do you guys have questions about anything? Yeah.
Like, let's just say I've never been to college and I want to learn kind of like things that would help me receive your notes and all that better, and like methods of learning, like taking notes in a certain way.
That is an awesome question.
That's an awesome question.
And my answer to that is twofold. I'm always sending students to the Learning Center. The thing about Douglas College is not only do your faculty want you to succeed, and we really do want you to be successful, but we've built into the college a whole set of supports to help you be successful in the classroom. Some of that may involve me saying to you, we've got a learning center, and you can go to the learning center. They provide assistance. They will teach you how to take notes.
They also, they do seminars.
Seminars.
So if you keep your eyes open, they'll probably be announced in class. The learning center is now in the library, isn't it? So it's inside the library. So they'll
Right over
post
there.
things. So they'll give you opportunities to learn all those sorts of things and develop your skills. Is there anything else? Are you going to the learning center today? Or are you?
Okay, great.
Okay, so you'll find the location of that, and they provide a lot of that kind of support. So individual instructors will help you with that if you have questions, but you can also do that with peers in the learning center.
The counseling services also provide seminars or workshops on time management. So we keep talking about time management. If you're sitting there saying, I never managed my time successfully, that would be me. I always end up in a crunch. And I keep thinking, I'm going to take one of the workshops the counseling service offers on time management. They do a whole bunch of stuff. There are a lot of people here who want you to be successful. Marty talked about going to the library for library books, but we have awesome librarians.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually know students who come back to Douglas who are writing papers at UBC and SFU because the librarians here actually like students. They like students.
Yeah, they're super helpful, So
Really
if you were wondering about how to do research for journal articles online or how do you, use the library appropriately, they're really great. They're really great for stuff like that.
They explain to me like, I don't want to buy books for my books, but I want to kind of like feel like rental or is there like buy used books or?
Yes.
There's used books in the Students' Union building, is that correct? And the bookstore. And there is somewhere online a way to rent certain
Yes.
textbooks, is there not?
Yes.
So that, you can probably look that. Somebody know where that is? It's all on the library website. There you go.
And many instructors actually put textbooks on reserve in the library.
Yeah,
So
you can
you
just
can
borrow
borrow
and
them from the
read
library.
chapters. Other questions? Anybody? No?
Do you know what we forgot? This guy. Can you eat in here? Well,
It depends on the instructor. Some instructors say don't eat in class. Some instructors don't care. The one thing I say is talk to the person next to you. Like if you come in with a burger from the cafeteria that's very aromatic, the person sitting next to you might say, "Ah, man, it's a little too strong." So again, just ask.
and what I say is, remember, nobody at the college is your mother, so you have to pick up after yourself.
Yeah.
You have to pick up after yourself. Any other questions? Yeah.
We just wanted to get a recap on plagiarism policies.
Oh, okay.
Dun dun dun.
Boom.
Plagiarism.
Is a academic crime that you don't want to go down there. And there's, I think, several reasons plagiarism happens. One of the reasons, most likely reasons students end up plagiarizing, which is submitting work that you didn't write yourself to a class, is they haven't managed their time and they're in the panic at the last minute and they go online and they find something and they turn it in. Couple things to remember. If you can find it online, I can find it online. And if you go to some place that sells papers, the way they're making money is they're selling multiple copies of the same paper. I have actually been grading papers. I remember grading a paper, reading it, thinking, wow, does this sound familiar? Flip back through my stack of papers. I had the same paper from two different students. Faculty will tell you, if you have a written assignment, we go over, this is how I want you to cite sources. It's different in psychology than it is in political science. It's different in English, but we will tell you. There are worksheets available in the Learning Center about plagiarism. The library has material about it. It is plagiarism if you turn a paper into me and you turn the same paper into Marnie. That's academic dishonesty. And Marnie and I talk to each other. So if I'm reading a paper and I'm thinking, wow, really interesting paper on the sociology of women. I'm teaching world politics. How does this relate to Syria? I'm going to pick up the phone and call Marnie and say, Marnie, do you have the student? And we might sit down over a cup of coffee and look at our papers and say, oh, we've got a problem.
Another thing that comes up in terms of plagiarism is just that students aren't entirely sure how to cite their sources, how to paraphrase things, all of that. That stuff, again, you'll find all kinds of information on the library website about how to appropriately quote and cite from the material that you're looking at. See, I teach sociology, so I expect when you're writing a paper for me that you're reading other stuff. So it's okay to say, I read this, I'm using it to make my points. So it's just a matter of knowing how to appropriately indicate where that material has come from. Some of your professors might be using a program called Turnitin. And it's probably going to get to a point in post-secondary that everybody uses this program. You put the paper in an electronic form, it goes to the professor puts it in Turnitin, and Turnitin will tell the professor everything that's come from another source. So if you buy a paper online, Turnitin knows it's online, it comes up all in red ink for the professor. So you get it given back with a big fat 0 on it, right? Now, Turnitin is useful, and in some cases, students can use it as a resource. I don't know if we have this here, but Turnitin can be a useful resource because if students have access to it, you can put your paper in and you can see where you need to have quotation marks around it, right? So in some instances, you have access to it. I don't think that's true here yet, but it's true at some of the universities. So the thing is, learn how to cite your sources, be honest about it. And the other thing about, I'll tell you something, paper mills, you're not getting a paper that's getting you an A when you're buying from there. They pretty much put up about C, maybe C+ papers. So you're not even getting good quality stuff.
And the other thing is that, and I always think this is the fundamental irony of this, is you learn to write papers by writing papers. And the nice thing about being in a class of 35 students is I've spent 25 years teaching students how to write good political science essays. And it's worth 35% of the mark in my class. If you go on to 3rd and 4th year classes, you may be in a class where you're writing one paper and it's worth 80% of your mark. One of the great things is here, if you're having trouble with your paper, you don't have to plagiarize it. You just have to come and talk to me. And I'll say, use this, use this, use this, go here, go here, go here. I've had students come to me and say, I want to use this in my paper. How do I cite this source? And I'm happy to help. So really, this is your chance to learn these skills. And if you're not academically honest, you're not learning the skills. It's kind of a waste of your money.
Anything else?
Do you have any policies about electronic submission or copy or?
Depends on the instructor. Depends on the instructor. Some instructors will be quite happy to take electronic copies because they do marking inward on the computer themselves. But others will say, absolutely, I'd rather have a piece of paper. I'm still old school. I still use a pen to mark papers. So I like hard copies of papers. So again, you should check. If it's not in the outline, ask the prof at the beginning of the class or at the time that you're getting ready to submit things.
Do you ever forgot to tell them
What?
what to call us?
I don't know. What should I call you, Sean?
I think you should call me Sean.
Okay. What are you going to call me?
I'm going to call you Marnie.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. And I'm okay if you call me Sean. But if you're worrying about asking all these questions the first day of class and you don't know what to call the person that you want to ask the question of, the great default is just to say professor. It works really well. Everybody's happy with professor. Some instructors are going to be Sean and Marnie. Some instructors are going to be doctor.
Yeah, some
Important
people want to be
person.
more formal, right? Like, I'm happy for people to call me Marnie, but I also know that culturally for some people that seems disrespectful, so I'll say, well, okay, that's the only time I would use the whole doctor thing. She always writes that on the board. It embarrasses the heck out of me.
Because she
It's for
is.
this part of the program,
It
actually.
is for this part of the program.
You know, like you don't have to call me Dr. Westerman, but if you're really uncomfortable calling me Marnie, you could call me Dr. Marnie if that makes you feel better, right? Like, I don't know, I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable, or just say, hey, professor.
And I don't know if he's still in the room. Sai got me used to being called ma'am, and I can handle ma'am now because I know culturally he explained the whole thing to me about respect, and I got it. So, you just ask. But if you're really uncomfortable asking, it's hard to ask what to call someone without calling them someone. Professor's a good default.
Okay, well, I think if there's no more questions, what we do want to say is if you communicate and manage your time, you will be successful not just this term, but for your whole career. So we wish you the best for the rest of the day, the rest of the term, and the rest of your year.